All right, welcome back to The Perspective. I'm your host, Parker Testa. Here we bring in Mr. Dave Calabro, sports director at WTHR Channel 13 in Indianapolis, announcer at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and formerly of WDTN Dayton Channel 2 here in Dayton, Ohio. Dave, can't thank you enough for coming on here with me. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, it's fun to be on with you guys. I have a lot of fond memories from my days back in Dayton, working at Channel 2 with the great Omar Williams. Some of your older listeners will remember that name. So, yeah, I spent about 5 years at Channel 2 covering sports back when the Bengals were a real football team and they made a Super Bowl run back in the 80s. I was there for that, and the Reds in the World Series. So, some great memories in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah, well, you mentioned you got your start here in Dayton at Channel 2, but I want to talk to you about before you got to Dayton. How did you get into sports broadcasting, and really, how did you fall in love with covering sports?
Well, I was a radio geek growing up. My high school had a pretty aggressive radio station, and I was involved with radio at Ben Davis High School in Indianapolis and did a bunch of stuff there. And then I started working in commercial radio when I was in high school and in college. I did that. I was burning the candle on both ends doing that. And then I did a television internship in college, and then kind of fell in love with covering sports. So out of college, I went to Fort Wayne, Indiana, and spent a year there. I was a news guy in Fort Wayne. And then I went to Dayton, Ohio. I was there for 5 years, and I was doing news when I first got to Dayton. And realized that to be a news guy, you got to be very serious. And I'm not a real serious guy, so I was like, that's not going to make for a good living. So start covering sports, and I've been doing it since 1985. Long time.
Yeah. So obviously, I'm from Indiana, went to Noblesville High School, so I grew up watching Dave on TV, and I've been out to the track multiple times and heard Dave on the call there. So as we get closer to current times, as you all may know, the NCAA tournament is going to be hosted in Indianapolis here in just a couple short weeks. You've covered multiple big name events in Indy, the Super Bowl 46 in 2012. How do you think this will impact the city's ability to kind of score these bigger name events? Of course, we were supposed to have the All-Star weekend for the NBA
Right.
come to town this year before COVID. But how do you think this will impact the city's ability to score some of these big name events?
Well, Indy's done a great job through the years of defining sports as a way to bring people in. It started way back, in the 70s. And it's become like this great downtown area where you can come to the hotel, drop your car off, go to your room, put your luggage in there, and you never have to get in your car again. You can walk to the venues. You can get to restaurants. It's a really simple setup. So they've done a great job of figuring out how to create a bubble for the teams. So all the teams will have their own floors and different places to stay. And then you got these venues nearby that we can have the events. So they've done a great job of setting it up that way. So in this pandemic, it's been cool to see what's going to happen. As you mentioned, we're going to have games at Lucas Oil Stadium, Bankers Life Fieldhouse, the Coliseum down at IU, and also up at Purdue. So, and also Hinkle Fieldhouse, so at Butler University. So it'll be awesome. So they've done a good job of setting this whole bubble up.
Yeah, there's a quote that says, "Imitation of the best is how you become your own thing." And I wanted to ask you, did you have a mentor or somebody you looked up to that you tried to imitate earlier in your career before you kind of came into your own brand?
Yeah, I met this guy. There's a picture of a guy behind me. His name is Tom Carnegie, and he was a sports director at the ABC station in Indianapolis for 60 years. And he was the announcer at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for 60 years, which is unheard of in our business. He was in the movie Hoosiers, if anybody's seen that movie. Big booming voice. He was kind of like my mentor, and I worked with him for years and started working with him at the racetrack when I was in college. And yeah, he was kind of one of my go-to guys. But I've just always been a person that I would send my tapes out back in the day and have people listen to them and tell me, what I needed to work on and on my delivery and whatnot. So that's kind of how you get better in this business, is just getting that feedback from other people and doing what you did. You pick up the phone, you call people and go, "Hey, can I talk to you about X?" And I tell young guys and gals in any industry that you're going to get into, if you've got that drive and that will, and you really want to connect, and you're willing to put you got to step out on that area of being uncomfortable. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to make this phone call to someone I don't know. I'm going to introduce myself to someone I don't know. Because it's all about the human interaction. This is great, using cell phones and as a way to connect, and texting and all that. But the eye-to-eye human connection in a non-COVID time, where you press the flesh, that's where you make impact on people. Where people really see what you're about, and to let people know that you're going to be aggressive. That's how I've accomplished all the things I've done, is willing to take chances. They don't always all work out, but you got to be able to go for it.
Yeah, so being from Indianapolis, I'm a Colts fan. I know everybody here in the Dayton area probably more Bengals fans.
They want to talk Bengals football.
But I know this is a sore subject for all Indianapolis fans, but I felt the need. I have to ask you this. Where were you at when you found out that Andrew Luck was going to retire?
Funny story. So I was at called Connor Prairie. It's an outdoor venue, and I was with a bunch of friends, my wife, and we were on the dance floor. And my wife, I didn't have my cell phone with me. I always have my cell phone, but I was on a date, and I'm like, I'm going to leave my cell phone behind. So I was on the dance floor with my wife and a bunch of friends, and I have two sons, and my 28-year-old sent a text to my wife saying, Andrew Luck just retired. And my wife held the phone up to me in the middle of a crowd of about 300 people. And I was like, what? And I know my son, I knew he doesn't, that wouldn't be something he would joke around. He knows my business. So I literally looked at my wife and said, I got to go. And I ran. And 40 minutes later, I was downtown, and I was live on Channel 13 talking about Andrew Luck's retirement. One of the craziest stories I've ever covered, too.
Yeah, just you rarely see that athlete retires in the prime of his career. So another question I have for you is, you've covered many stories over the years, sports, among many other things. Is what is one of your favorite athlete or coach you've been able to interview or talk to? Of course, there's Tony Dungy, Larry Bird, Peyton Manning, of course. Who's been, I don't want to say your favorite, but who's been the most interesting and more willing to open up than others?
Well, I think just because you're in Dayton, I've had an opportunity to talk to so many different legends through the years. I always got a kick out of talking to Pete Rose.
Yeah.
Pete Rose is an amazing man. Johnny Bench was another a guy who I enjoyed chatting with a lot. Boomer Esiason from the Bengals days was a neat guy. Interesting guys, Ickey Woods, who was a running back for the Ickey Shuffle.
Right.
It was fun. I was a part of watching his star rise. Gosh, I could go down the list of people. There's George Harrison from the Beatles hanging on my wall back there. I've got to interview two different presidents, and Michael Jordan's to Michael Phelps to, I've done 9 Olympics, I think. So I've been a part of all those different Olympic things you've seen on TV, and so to pick out one is pretty hard to say, but it's fun. That's the cool part probably about my job, is getting to know athletes in a different way. Peyton Manning, he and I have a relationship with him. Really neat guy, one of the hardest working, driven people I've ever met in my life. And again, it's just another one of those people that when young people are talking about their career, their dreams, or whatever, it's, I haven't met a person yet who had a shortcut to success. Everybody's got this thing where you go, all right, this is the path I'm on, and here's how I'm going to get there. And it's all about putting your nose down and working to get there.
Yeah. So, and you mentioned you're covering the Olympics. You've seen many talk about Michael Phelps.
Yeah.
What I want to ask, what has been like the one moment, like your wow moment? Like you, obviously you mentioned you started here at Dayton, but what has been the moment like, wow, I can't believe that just happened, or I can't believe I just did that?
Well, you do it. I've been doing it for so long. Sometimes you get lost in what you just did. Like, I'm just on the phone with AJ Foyt and IndyCar driver Mario Andretti and those kind of people. It kind of becomes your lifestyle. You don't really think about it. I would say when I'm at the Olympics, outside of the, where they have the opening ceremonies, and you've got what's called the Parade of Nations going through. Every athlete from around the world is walking by you from all these nations, a lot of some you've never even heard of before. And, you know, there's people from all around the world speaking all these different languages in one location. Those are kind of wow moments too. Or when I'm at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, standing in a garage and I've been through Secret Service clearance and the President of the United States walks in, and, you know, I get to talk to him for 2 or 3 minutes in front of 300,000 people on a microphone. Those are wow moments. And those aren't lost on me. You know, those you cherish. Those are great memories for sure.
Yeah. What has been your favorite aspect of your job? Not only the moments and the people you meet, but is there something that, like, one thing above all others? Is it like the concept of chasing stories or interviews?
Yeah.
What is something that you've really enjoyed over the years?
Well, it's like playing sports. This is a competition every day. Who has the best content? You know, and that's what this is all about. It's that competitive edge. My job, no 2 days are alike. Every day is totally different. And for some people that would drive them nuts. For me, I love it. I love to thrive on the fact that I have no clue what tomorrow will bring. And it's been a fun journey because it keeps you on your toes. You know, like the other day I was at Hinkle Fieldhouse shooting some stuff for the NCAA tournament, and I got a call that Carson Wentz had landed in a plane about 5 miles from where I was, and we got video of it. We were the only station that got video of that. So the next thing you know, I was downtown at Lucas Oil Stadium doing reports on that. So, you know, it's an ever-changing business, you know, so that's kind of fun, ever-changing business. So that makes it fun, but obviously with cell phones and social media now, the job is definitely different.
You meant talking about being at Hinkle Fieldhouse and having to go over to Lucas Oil Stadium. Is that something that you go through each day? Is just your day it comes as it moves along, like your day's constantly changing?
Well, you plan ahead. I mean, you know, you have storylines, things you're going to cover, and events that are going on that you build your schedule around. But yeah, it depends on what's happening and what the storyline is of the day. And, you know, you may be on one story one moment, and then, you know, 20 minutes later, the story changes. You're off to something else, or some you know, breaking news, or we get a tidbit of information that's more. You know, it's all about giving the viewer the most interesting story of the day. That's what we try to do.
In the fall, you obviously cover high school football locally. I think almost every high school in central Indiana has seen Dave Calabro show up to their stadium and talk to the student sections and coaches and things of that nature. How many high schools do you say you typically cover in one Friday night during the fall?
Yeah, I've been doing that for 29 years, I think, 30 years. We started Operation Football in Dayton back in 1980, whatever it was, 87 or whatever, and I took it to Indianapolis. Usually we used to have a helicopter. We don't do that anymore because of drones, but for 25 years, I flew around in a helicopter, and I would go to 4 games every Friday night. So that's all. Yeah, I've been to a lot of football games for sure.
Dave, I can't thank you enough for spending your time. I know you're a busy man, and really appreciate you coming on here and talking with me. Thank you so much.
Hey, well, thanks for having me on, and go Wright State Raiders, man. You guys should make a little noise in your conference tournament here, I would think.
Yeah, we're hoping. Our broadcast team is hoping to be there in a couple weeks at the state fairgrounds to cover the Horizon tournament. So.
Well, I'm so old. I was at I think I was at opening night of the Nutter Center back in the Stone Ages, back in the day.
Dave, thank you so much.
Take care.